From Southeast Nigeria to the rest of the world, this is Afia TV News Tonight. We're live from Afia TV studios here in the Coast City. My name is Alex Obodo. It's our discussion segment, and we're asking a question tonight. Is Nigeria negotiable? As we celebrate the 57th anniversary of the Declaration of Biafra, is this an indication that, well, there are questions to be asked as to whether people can negotiate their existence and stay within the Federation? I'm joined tonight on the news tonight by Mr. Tony Nadi. He is the Secretary General, Lower Niger Congress, LNC, and the co-convener of the NINAS, that's the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. Thank you so much, Barrister Nadi, for joining me. You always insist I shouldn't call you Barrister Nadi, but come on, that's what it is. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So, I mean, straight up, I'll ask you the question, is Nigeria negotiable?
Well, I don't know how people are going to understand that question. So we have to explain the question itself. That is it within the reach? My understanding of the question, which I want to share with our viewers, is it the right of those conscripted into the Nigerian Union to decide whether or not to be in the union, to remain in the union, to continue in the union? That's what that question basically translates into. The people who had to kill 3.5 million people in eastern Nigeria between 1967 and 1970 in order to have a union, they began to tell us from 1970 that the Nigerian Union was no longer negotiable. We heard when Ibrahim Bangida said that if anybody insists on a renegotiation of the union, that he will wear his uniform and go back to the battlefield. He has not taken back that reckless statement to this date. And so we hold it as his position. And we hold on to that position as the microcosm of the wider position of all of them on the other side of that war. We're talking about 57 years of Biafra. Let us also remember that 2024 is the 57th year of unitary Nigeria. It was in 1967 that they abandoned the federal foundations upon which we were supposed to be building the union, and they went on their brigandage to establish a unitary union on the blood of innocent people, which is now collapsing on their head. And so the default where we are now, except something else happens, the default is that we have no union. What do I mean by that? The constitution they imposed by brigandage, by force of arms since 1967, which they codified in 1979 at the instruction of Murtala Mohammed that initiated the commotion in 1967. You know, remember, it was Murtala Mohammed that led the coup of July 29, 1967, when they began to kill people all over the place. Why was it the same Murtala Mohammed who will, on July 29, 1975, be the one to topple Gowon, be the one to invite, what's his name, Rotimi Williams and Ben Wabeze to draft the constitution by which, Nigeria will return to the democracy he had, the kind of democracy he had in mind, the democracy of master and servant. So we are now in that, we are living in that constitution that Murtala Mohammed, the butcher of Asaba, imposed on us. Though Obasanjo came in to do the finishing, but it was the draft that came at the instruction of Mohammed that became what went to Constituent Assembly in 1977, and Obasanjo now rubber stamped it for them. In fact, all the changes they tried to make to that original draft of Murtala Mohammed, you know, the Obasanjo on the 21st of September 1978, announced amendments to the finished work of the Constituent Assembly. For those who do not know how things, what led to what, who turned around to tell us that what we had in 1977, that became 1979 Constitution, was a product of the people. They do not understand the meaning of we the people. And so they think that an assemblage of any group of Nigerians will become the body with constituent powers to make a constitution. We have said it repeatedly. We have not made any constitution since 1914. all of the constitutions that have been imposed on us have been either by the British or the Caliphate, or they are, in conjunction, of course, with their willing tools. Absalom Abaka brought forward what they did in 1999 by Decree number 24. And since it was our signature that was imposed, that was implanted illicitly in that, cobbling of falsehood to lie that we, the people, did all of what was done in making that constitution. I tell you, as at today, we do not have a union. Those who do not understand it can remain in their ignorance, including the ones who gather in Abuja, pretending they have become the owners of our sovereignty. We have, for 25 years, since the 1999 Constitution came into being, we have, for those 25 years, been inviting them to a negotiated settlement. And they think that it's not negotiable. They think they have plenty of guns to hold everybody together. But the reality of the moment is that that constitution that lied that we, the people, firmly and solemnly resolved to live together in unity. That we, the people, meaning the constituent components of Nigeria, armed with their sovereignties. Yoruba would have been a country of its own if Nigeria was not occupying its space. The eastern side would have been a country of its own if Nigeria was not occupying its space. The middle belt could be a country of its own if Nigeria was not occupying that space. And if they are here because Nigeria is occupying their space, and the title deed by which Nigeria is doing that is that constitution that says we the people, says falsely that we the people, meaning we the Yoruba, we the Ijo, there's no other meaning to that, to that we the people, other than we the constituent components of Nigeria, being the owners of the sovereignties that are aggregated to form the Union of Nigeria. Any other meaning anybody tries to attach to it, because you went to a beer parlor and saw people dressed in Yoruba dress and other people wearing a joka, and then you invite them to Abuja, even if you do it 50 times. That was what happened to all the conferences that Nigeria has had, including the one of 2014, including the one of Obasanjo, including the one of Abacha, including the one of all of those who had called conferences before. We have not made any constitution. And the constitution they credited to us falsely, the one of 1979 that became 1999, the owners of the sovereignty have been organized by the organization I speak for, the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. Look at the map behind me. The only group that do not belong to that, designation are the ones invading us from Mali and Chad and Burkina, all kinds of places. The Fulani are the only ones who do not belong to that, description. Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. We have come forward to say that we did not make this constitution, and therefore it cannot remain basis of union.
Okay.
If anybody thinks that guns will solve the problem, they should go and ask Muhammadu Buhari why all the guns he gathered over the years, the border he threw open for Fulani to pour in, why those guns were not able to deliver Nigeria to him in the manner of Ahmadu Bello's thought that Nigeria will be an estate of their great-grandfather. We are still answering the question of whether Nigeria is negotiable or not negotiable. Initially, the ones who were saying it's non-negotiable, they were, at the time they were saying it, they had not been challenged in the manner that we have now challenged that false claim.
Okay.
The foundation of the union, the constitution by which they are holding us hostage in this, arena.
Mr.
And so we say, we must now dissolve the union except we are discussing it. If we can't discuss, we disperse.
If I can comment now, for people that are watching, they need to get the context for which you are making these demands. And how will that happen? If I think I've asked you this question before, how will that happen when there is a president? You also have a National Assembly who are making laws, unquote, on behalf of the Federation. And how would you get to the point where the indigenous peoples that you've mentioned will present their case to say that really, that the current 1999 Constitution isn't their constitution? Who are you talking to and who is listening?
tell you who I'm talking to. There was a day in Yugoslavia that this discussion was going on. And people were pointing guns at others, refusing to discuss it. At the end of the day, Yugoslavia went up in smoke. There was also a day Czechoslovakia was discussing this. And sanity prevailed early enough for people to sit down and, pull it all apart peacefully. There was a day in South Africa, apartheid constitution was the complaint of the owners of the land. The Boers, like the Fulani, occupied their land since 1910, imposing an apartheid constitution that made the Boers the owners of the sovereignty to the exclusion of the owners. And of course, as the owners were complaining, those who were pointing, the Boers who were pointing guns at them and their collaborators, they had local collaborators. Don't make any mistakes about that. Like we have the willing tools in Nigeria today. All of the people from southern Nigeria, middle belt Nigeria, collaborating with this enemy that is invading and killing, that wants to take the entire land. They are the enemy. And that will include all of those who are operating political parties. We don't have to, we're not presenting any case to them. It is because of their illiteracy and ignorance that they do not understand that sovereignty belongs to the peoples of Nigeria. Sovereignty meaning the land and the people conscripted into Nigeria. The constitution by which we became a union in 1960 defined how we're going to cooperate, coexist. It was toppled in the mid-60s. And what we have now is a complete departure from what people, and we have suffered sufficiently under it. And when I say we, the Yoruba that could be a country of 60 million people, the Eastern Nigeria, when you hear Lower Niger Congress, it is the aggregation of the former Eastern and Midwestern region. The nationalities spread across those 11 states they have become now. The Igbo, the Ijo, the Ogoni, the Anang, the Efik, the Bibio, the Urobo, the Edo, and all of everybody in the old Midwestern region and the Eastern region. If anybody is sitting in Abuja thinking that because he's in the National Assembly, thinking because he has been coronated president, that our sovereignty has now been lost to them because they placed a document that we know nothing about as the basis, as the title deed, empowering themselves to do all of what they are doing. They confiscated all our economic assets by decree. They conscripted all the powers of state. The powers the regions that federated had were taken over illicitly by this illicit federal government, just by decree. All the 68 items on that exclusive list. I'm trying to explain to you because many people are thinking that we have to go and persuade them in Abuja so that they can agree with us, for us to come on our knees, presenting our case to criminals that subscribe to a fraud. That constitution, to the extent that it says, we the people made it, having firmly and solemnly resolved to live together. Go to section 14.2a if you want to understand whether we need to talk to them or not, because sovereignty resides in the people irrevocably. As long as Yoruba is in Yoruba land, have not been conquered by anybody, they are entitled to their sovereignty, they are entitled to their self-determination. They don't need to talk, they don't need your permission to take their portion out of the union. And the only reason they've not been able to do that, they've not done that, not even been able, they've not organized sufficiently to do that because there have been lack of knowledge here and there. The same thing with the eastern side. The only reason they are still hanging around in this union of death is that many did not understand that sovereignty belongs to them. Go to section 14.2a that I talked about. It says, of this same illicit constitution, it at least admitted in that section that sovereignty belongs to the peoples of Nigeria, from whom government, through this constitution, derives all its powers and authority. I repeat it, I'm quoting it. Sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government, through this constitution, derives all its powers and authority. Now, having made that universal, declared that universal truism. They then come to the preamble to the Constitution that we were not part of making and lie that we the people, meaning we the constituent components, having firmly and solemnly resolved together to live in unity as indivisible and indissoluble, do hereby make and give unto the following Constitution. Those are three false claims. And then for you to know why we're speaking the way we're speaking now, and to know that we are not bound to have any meeting with anybody to dissolve the union. Decree number 24 of 1999, by which Absalom Abubakar and his co-travelers imposed that constitution, told the story of how he set up a committee headed by one Justice Nick Itobi, who then went to wherever he chose and gathered the kind of people who then told him that they would want to return to the 1979 that Murtala Muhammad imposed. From the genocide of 1967 to 1970, Murtala Muhammad that presided over that genocide was the one that commissioned the Constitution. So the Constitution we have now is the victory charter from that genocide. And the owners of the land have been mobilized now into taking back their portions and let us know that it is that Constitution, it is only that fraudulent Constitution that has lost its life, that forbids, it puts arms and ammunition in the exclusive list, putting it in the hands of the federal government exclusively. If that Constitution goes down like it has gone down now, I tell you, anybody that is not satisfied with what Nigeria is dishing to him is at liberty to take back all of what that Constitution took from them. And what was the first thing the Constitution took from them? In that preamble that says, we the people who have solemnly resolved to live in unity forever, that was what confiscated their territory into this union of death.
All right.
If it is a lie, I tell you, that lie is at an end. Okay. It is in that confiscation that the oil and gas of Niger Delta is lost. It is in that confiscation that my right to generate electricity for myself is lost. My right to defend myself in terms of security is lost. So that instrument they are relying on for power and authority, when it wasn't given by the owners of the sovereignty, I tell you, sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, and we've organized them to take back their sovereignties if Nigeria will not discuss with them. The onus is on them now to convince us to come to be in union with them.
We're absolutely out of time, and I have to thank you so much for squeezing in so much into the short time we have for analysis within this news belt. And definitely I'll bring you back to some other programs to expand